You're welcome back. Today we have an interaction with very promising young people who have already started thinking global. And we are having in the studio a very promising young lady. She's in the person of Miss Bernice Alogbe. She's Commissioner for Conference and Protocol. Welcome, my lady.
Thank you,
she's here with the Executive Director. Before I tell you his name, he has over 10 years experience involved in a number of youth-oriented programs focused on developing the entrepreneurial and leadership skills of young people across Africa. He is a well-motivated young man with a desire to create a better future for himself, others, and the rest of Africa. He's a passionate, hard-working, and outstanding young Ghanaian leader, and a well-rounded and gifted young man impacting decision-making at all levels in the Republic of Ghana and the rest of Africa. He is a co-founder and executive director of the African Youth Network for Leadership and Development, an NGO focused on human capital development of young people in Africa. He has over 7 years experience working in sales and marketing, including client relationship management. He has also an understanding of financial markets and investments. In 2013, he was voted amongst his peers as the best national chairman by the Data Bank Universal Economic School, a youth-focused organization where he served as national chairman from 2012 to 2015. His academic interests include international trade, consumer behavior, customer service, branding, marketing strategy, and international marketing. However, as a well-rounded young person, he also has interest in issues of entrepreneurship, societal development, leadership, governance, and environmental sustainability. I'm privileged to have in the studio Mr. David Osabote, Executive Director, African Youth Network for Leadership and Development. Ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome.
Thank you, Ibad, and a very good evening to your viewers.
I feel so exhilarated when I find young, promising people try to do what little they can to project this continent. And today, we are discussing the economy of West Africa and what the prospects are. But before we delve into the topic, David, walk us through the Model Ecowas Summit. What we'll have in the next few days will be your third edition.
Yes.
Walk us through the conceptualization as well as the implementation of such an ideal, project.
Well, Ibad, thank you for inviting us onto your show. It's a privilege to be here.
We're happy to have you too.
I'm sure if you have been following the activities of ECOWAS when it was established in 1975, within those era or those times,
yes,
the policy, we had something we call the ECOWAS of states, where the decision making of ECOWAS rested on a few, 15 heads of states across the entire West African sub-region. But then years down the line, ECOWAS now decided to redirect its focus, where they had what we call ECOWAS of the people. So there was a transition from ECOWAS of states to ECOWAS of the people, where ECOWAS of the people means that now ECOWAS want to involve not just heads of states and ministers, but private sector, public sector, civil society, youth organization, and any other identifiable group in the ECOWAS decision-making process at all levels of policy formulation and implementation. So based on this, we felt that then we have to create a platform where young people can be involved in the ECOWAS decision-making process, where young people can actually propose solutions to some of the numerous challenges we have across the West African sub-region. So that is what has necessitated us coming out with the initiative of the Model Ecowas Summit, which provides a platform for young people to engage policy makers and decision makers at all low levels of decision making and implementation, especially across the ECOWAS sub-region.
Okay.
So basically, this is what the model ECOWAS is
I just
about.
returned from Abuja not too long ago,
Yeah.
because I have operations around the world, including in Nigeria. ECOWAS is headquartered in Nigeria.
Yes.
Are you doing this in isolation as Ghanaians, or you have the blessing of the ECOWAS Secretariat in Abuja?
We have you know, for ECOWAS work is the way that it has what we call the ECOWAS national unity in all the 15 member states. So we're actually doing it with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, and then the ECOWAS national unit here in Ghana. It is not just a Ghanaian thing. We have young people from all the 15 ECOWAS member states, and it would interest you to know that for the first time we have people coming all the way from Zimbabwe. I picked up a gentleman from the airport yesterday.
Oh, great.
He came all the way from Zimbabwe, and
great.
he is coming on the tickets of the Zimbabwe Youth Authority.
Okay.
And then tomorrow there's another young lady who is coming all the way from Cameroon.
Okay.
Then another person is coming all the way from Ethiopia.
Okay.
It means that when it comes to West Africa or the Model ECOWAS Summit, there is something unique that even countries outside the West African regional bloc, there is something they feel that they have to come and learn from us. So it is not just a Ghana thing, and it is not also a West African thing, but it's becoming an African agenda that we're trying to push.
Okay, I'll come back to you, Executive Director. And Commissioner, how are you? And the issue of affirmative action and female empowerment has come to the fore, not only within the sub-region, but the larger continent. And how do you feel being a part of this as a woman?
Well, thank you, Brad. Affirmative action for women and female empowerment. You know, like you said, it's been rampant lately. There's a lot of talk on it. And as a woman, I've never ever felt that I have been secluded from certain things. I always feel that if you have something you want to go for, you just have to go for it.
Okay.
You don't have to look at what society or what anybody says. And so from the onset, I don't capture myself in a smaller group to say that I'm being affected by society or I'm being affected by, issues of men and patriarchy and all of that. So from the beginning, I do know that as a woman, you have power to do a lot of things. If you want to do something and achieve it, you just go ahead and then do it. So for me, being a part of this is great. I started in 2014 when we began the Model ECOWAS Summit, and then later in 2016, my rank changed from just being an assistant of the executive director to being the commissioner. Okay. And now we get the opportunity to form our own group that we can stand on. That's the African Youth Network for Leadership and Development, where he's the executive director and I am the director. So from the beginning, everything you have, you focus on doing, you shouldn't feel secluded as a woman. I'm speaking to women. Okay. You don't feel secluded that there is something that is hampering you. Just give it a go, and then I'm sure you'll be able to achieve it.
So what are some of the challenges you faced as a lady being a frontliner in the whole of this?
I would not even say that I have had challenges.
Great.
The mindset has always been positive.
Great.
So once you have a positive mindset, I don't even think that you should be focused on challenges so much.
Okay.
So from before I even became a part of this Model ECOWAS Summit, I've always been a frontliner, like you said, in school, right back from senior high to Ghana Institute of Journalism, where I was. Yes,
great.
That's why I said I know you.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Great.
I got the opportunity to, serve the Ghana Union of Professional Students.
Great.
Yes, as a press secretary.
Great.
And then I had to fight for it. If you want something, you just fight for it. So it doesn't have to be the challenges and then always trying to act as victim, as a woman. Just do what you have to do. I'm sure the support is there for women.
Okay.
And that's what
thank you so much. Mr. Executive Director, we know there is an ECOWAS Parliament.
Yes.
How much does this model mirror what happens on the floor of the ECOWAS Parliament?
Well, it's even sad to even say that a lot of young people do not even know that there is even an ECOWAS Parliament.
Okay.
And I would say that it has got to do with the lack of access to information.
Okay.
Yeah, but what we do as somebody like us, we do not look at it from the perspective of the ECOWAS Parliament.
Okay.
We look at it from the perspective of an ECOWAS heads of state meeting.
Okay.
So also basically for young people who are interested in issues of diplomacy and international relations.
Mm-hmm.
Young people who want to get involved in issues of ECOWAS, and then probably they may want to take it to the AU level and then the UN level. So basically what we do has got to do with, you know, mimicking what happens at a typical, ECOWAS heads of state meeting and not at the ECOWAS Parliament. I think that recently the ECOWAS Parliament has been trying to do, I see that they do a lot of Facebook Live activities. Now, they want a lot of people to know that, there is an ECOWAS Parliament where decisions are taken, where Ghana, Nigeria, and all the other countries across, West Africa have representations in that parliament. I think that we need to do more when it comes to issues of ECOWAS Parliament, issues of West Africa regional integration. We still need to do more, even though some level of work has been done, but we still will need to do more.
Okay, I'll come back so that we get to know the nitty-gritty of what you do. But I would want to ask you, Commissioner, in terms of logistics, that means getting people paying for their plane tickets and all that, and lodging them at a comfortable hotel. Who bears all the costs?
Okay. Interestingly, we have the enthusiasm of young people leading them to, get this done. And for some of them, they seek sponsorship from their government, and then some of them also pay from their pocket. So we don't charge so much, but we have a lot of people doing the payments. Coming down to Ghana is at their cost. They do that. So we provide them with letters of introduction where they can use to seek for sponsorship from other governments or from individuals that can help them to come down here.
Okay. So for someone coming from Cameroon, just as Executive Director has indicated, the person will bear the cost of airfares, but then you pick up the person from the airport and lodge them in a hotel. Yes. Who bears the hotel?
Well, a lot of the time we look for sponsorship to do this. So we approach corporate Ghana.
So organizers, you are the organizers. Exactly. You foot the bill for the accommodation, and then food.
We do that as well.
You have inter alia, while you have your engagements, you have coffee breaks.
Yes. We have coffee breaks. We call them snack breaks. So we have breakfast. Most of the activities run through the entire day. So we have breakfast, we have lunch break, and we have snack breaks as well.
And the whole summit lasts for how many days from arrival to departure?
From arrival to departure, you say 5 days.
But up to 5 days. Yes. You are keeping people here for 5 days.
Interesting. Everybody's excited.
I'm a regular participant of international conferences.
Okay.
There's always an opportunity to tour the city.
Yes.
Have you been taking them to various places in Accra? Or outside Accra?
Not outside Accra, in Accra,
centers.
Yes. In Accra, yes. 2 years ago, when participants arrived, they were so eager to go outside of their, hotels and then see around. And we made sure that they were able to do that. And this year, they've made requests. Some people have made requests of places they want to go, which we're looking at. Once they get here, we make arrangements and see which ones in particular they would like to go. And all of it will be in Accra, not outside Accra.
Branding is very important, and Ghana seems to have a very good international reputation. What is the commonest denominator? When they come, what places do they ask of? Do they ask of Kwame Nkrumah Sek or Kwame Nkrumah Mausoleum? Yes. What do they ask of normally?
Interestingly, it's mostly places
or the Black Stars. They want to see the Black Stars.
No, places they've heard. Some of them, for Nigerians especially, some do have friends here. So places they have heard of. Then they ask. Today, as a participant asked me, where is Kaneshi?
Oh, I see.
Yes, just Kaneshi. He has heard a lot about Kaneshi, so he just asked where Kaneshi is. And then I had to show him where Kaneshi is. How far is Kaneshi from where they are going to lodge? And then I take him through. They have some very funny things.
Oh, great. Then you guys have been having fun on this one. Mr. Executive Secretary and Director, so when all is said, what gets done? How much of government support do you have? You say you do the same concept with our own foreign affairs.
When it comes to
does the minister delegate somebody to come and give a speech on her behalf?
Yes. Unfortunately, I was at the ministry last week, I think the minister would be out of town Thursday. She has some engagement in Togo. Yeah, so definitely, yeah, I know she's going to delegate some.
The previous editions, the first and the second,
yes,
how much of a participation did you have from the Foreign Affairs Ministry?
Well, we had financial backing from the ministry, and then we had the minister at that time had to go to the US for a UN conference.
Okay.
Yes, but the chief director was
at the event.
Yeah. Yes, the chief director was at the event.
And for every young Ghanaian watching us, I think I would recommend this summit. What are the criteria for you to be a participant?
Well, basically, you just need to fall within the ages of 18 to 45.
And then what's next? You apply online.
You apply
online application.
Yes. An online application. We get back to you. So once you apply, we send you a letter acknowledging receipt of your application, and then we'll follow up with another email saying that you have been, shortlisted to participate in the summit. And then what is ahead of us,
So the application is done on which website or on which?
The application is done on our website at modelecowasummit.org.
modelecowasummit.org.
Yeah,
isn't it too late since the plenary
session
opens on Thursday?
It's too late to register now. But once we open applications, we do make use of campus ambassadors in various campuses. They act as heads of resource, so they get participants from their campuses. So mostly in Ghana, we have campus ambassadors on major campuses that can help in mobilizing people to participate.
Great.
And then we have the online platform too.
Oh, great. But for those that are not active students on campuses currently, in future, if someone falls within the age bracket and they are not in school, maybe they are part of the corporate environment, they've started working, they can still take part.
They can still take part. They can, because for instance now we don't have all participants being students. Some are not students. So if you fall within the corporate or you want to be part of us, you can join us.
This sounds impressive. Executive Director, so do you document what you do? Do you share it with Danida, Star Ghana, another UK Aid, USA ID? How much of an outreach do you do so that the thing burgeons in terms of strength and scope with every passing year?
Okay, so what we do after the summit, whatever communique we come out or whatever resolution, we share that with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, and then we share it with the young people. I think actually I was saying this on one other media house that our focus is not on governments, because we realize that government has some other responsibilities. So with some of these resolutions or communique, we look at it from the perspective for the young people. How do we implement the recommendations as contained in the resolution? Yes, if government want to partner us, why not? Our doors are wide open.
But the complication is, if this exchange is cultural, then you can leave it at the youth level. But if it borders on policy formulation, then you need government.
We need a government. Yes.
So how do you skirt your way around the two, culture and politics?
Well, it's a blend of things. You need to understand some, but we are able to do some blend some of these things. But like I'm just saying, the focus is not on government, and I love that the recommendations in the communique. We want to make it as practicable as possible. We're making it as practicable so that the young people can take these recommendations and implement it themselves, especially when it comes to issues of entrepreneurship and investment, when it comes to issues of technology and innovation, but when it comes to issues of agribusiness. We want young people to understand the entire agricultural value chain. What are the opportunities, and how can we take advantage of these opportunities in the entire agricultural value chain? When it comes to issues of technology and innovation, what are the latest trends when it comes to the technology world? What are the opportunities, and how can we capitalize on some of these opportunities as young people? So that is why I said that we do not solely focus on government, but we focus on it from the youthful perspective. How do we take the lead? How do we implement some of these recommendations at our level?
Yes.
Because you see, for someone to be able to offer a helping hand to you, you should have been doing something on your own. So the person says that you want me to help you. What have you done? Show me what you have done and where you want me to come on board to come and help you. That's why we say that we are taking the initiative on our own and we are implementing some of these recommendations. Then we can go out boldly and seek for government partnership and government collaborations on some of these.
Commissioner, you wanted to add something.
To add to that. So, like he said, when we come out with a final resolution, which we present to government, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, we leave that at that level, and then we come down to ourselves. Like he rightly said, we look at having implementations from our angle. So that's why, for instance, this year we introduced the West African Youth Economic Forum and Exhibition Fair, and that's where we have the 3 major forums that we want to look at. We're looking at entrepreneurship and investment. We're looking at agribusiness, and then we're looking at technology and innovation. And all this is focusing on teaching young people. Stakeholders are going to teach young people for entrepreneurship, for instance, how to start their own business, how to even prepare their business plans, And these are basic things that when you have it at hand, you can be able to do something for yourself. So at our level, this is what we are doing. And then same for technology. We want to even build partnerships. Young people should be able to build partnerships. For young businesses that are already started, we're giving them opportunity to exhibit their wares and their affairs for people to, for them to, identically, I see that you are doing something in this regard. Let me also partner you. Let me help in, building your business. And then that way we grow. If you want to leave everything for government, you will still sit down and say, government has not been able to do this thing that we proposed to them. So we propose them, all right, but we also try to implement it, little by little at our own level. And that's why we introduce all these things, to have a holistic approach to the entire summit.
To a large extent, everything youthful falls within the domain and purview of universities. And we have SRC, Student Representative Councils, and then NUCs. Do these, umbrella organizations on campuses have representation during this Ecowas model summit?
Yes, I think that I spoke with a young gentleman who is the president of the Youth Parliament of Ghana, and we have extended, an invitation to them to be a part of the event. And any other student group or any identifiable group who has approached us, we bring them.
Do they have to approach you? Because
we also write to them.
In the past 3 decades or so, a good number of those who are formulating our foreign policy directions today were NUCs or SRC executives.
Yes.
So why don't you involve them in what you do?
No, we have it, and it will interest you to know that in the past, a few of the people who went on to become SRC presidents in Ghana, they have been a part of the summit. Yes, currently we have a young lady who came for the summit. It's not a summit we do every year. We do it in every 2 years. And as at the time when she came to Ghana, she came all the way from London. And today she is working with the Ecowas Commission.
Okay.
So it's a platform where we extend invitation to everyone who cares and understand the cause we are championing.
Okay.
And they are interested.
Let's go into the meat of the discussion, which is floating the idea of an ECOWAS-owned economy. It will shock you to know that the quantum of intra-trade between ECOWAS countries stands at a woeful 14%. But within the Eurozone, European countries that trade amongst themselves, the percentage is around 86%. So 14% of, you don't even know Burkina Faso. You don't even know what happens in Togo, next door Togo.
Yes.
So how can we break the jinx and make sure that ECOWAS countries can do more trade amongst themselves?
But it would interest you to know that if you're traveling by road, from the Gambia to Accra, Ghana, it takes 5 days. By road, it takes 5 days. So if I had fresh tomatoes and I don't have the money to airlift it and I want to do by road, it's taking 5 days. Okay. So it means that we haven't been able to develop, our transportation system. Okay. How about if we had a railway line that connected Accra to Togo, Benin, Nigeria, Ouagadougou, and all the other countries within West Africa? It means that if you had some fresh boxes of fresh tomatoes, you could move them to these countries within hours. So we have to look at the road network. Yes, I have a gentleman who is flying from Liberia to Ghana. He is not getting a straight flight. There is no straight flight, and he's spending over $800 on just flights. So we have to be able to develop, our transportation network. Then we can integrate properly. Yes, even at the border today, try crossing the border from Aflao into Togo, into Benin, into Nigeria. It is not as easy as we have it printed on paper. There are still some practical challenges, and we need to be able to work on some of these things. We need to resolve all the issues at the border level. Okay. We need to work on the transportation. How about if ECOWAS established an airline that could just move people, goods, services, and capital from the country, among the countries in West Africa? People could easily move and do business. People could easily move and settle, rather than having to do from the Gambia to Ghana by road in 5 days. It means that if you wanted to get to Accra in 5 days, you should have been leaving on a Sunday so that you could get to Accra on a Thursday or a Friday. It doesn't help in the economic integration we are talking about. So you made mention that trade among the ECOWAS countries, how many? It's only 14%. Why? Because we haven't developed our transportation network. These are things we should be looking at. And if we are able to do this, why not? A lot of Nigerians come to Ghana and come and do business. A lot of Ghanaians want to go to Nigeria to go and do business. But there are challenges. If we are able to resolve this, Ibad, you can move to Nigeria without any form of limitations and do business.
Okay, and we'll go for a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll continue the discussion. Welcome back. We are still in the studio with very promising young West Africans. David Osabote, Executive Director of the African Youth Network, and also Lady Bernice Alogbe. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back.
Thank you.
And Dave, you were making a very good point that the transport system within West Africa is quite shambolic. And we talk about mammoth projects, a very big rail line system that would connect Ghana to La Côte d'Ivoire and other countries. Why are these only ideas on paper and they've not been implemented over the past few decades?
Well, we should be asking, our leaders, when they go to the ECOWAS meetings, what do they talk about? I'm sure I will not be in the position to answer that question.
Yeah, no, but sure Dennis, as a young person, don't you think when you talk logistics, when you talk transportation, individual member states should strengthen? Look, Ghana doesn't have a good rail line system. So when you talk about a mammoth rail line system that will connect us to other countries, then it becomes a fantasy.
Then I do not really know what the issue has been all this while, because every time, for instance, issue of, a common currency, it's something that ECOWAS has spoken about several times and for years, but we don't see anything. I don't know, I can also say that probably we have disunity among, unity. We say we are united or something, but probably there is some form of disunity that we are not even aware of, or something like a common language. Okay. I think it has also been a bane for us all these years. We have, I'm in Ghana. Togo speak French. as the official language, but I can't speak 3 lines of French and not get stuck, you know. So I don't know what has actually been the problem, but I can also think that maybe language has been a barrier.
But should language be a barrier? Most of West Africa is either Anglophone or Francophone.
Yes.
The EU has 28 member states, and they have a diversity of languages. Is that a good point? Is that a strong argument?
I wouldn't say it's a strong argument, but like I said, we can't tell what has kept us where we are today. We've always talked about solutions, and then years on years, they go for meetings, they come back and they say they are talking about strengthening this, they are talking about strengthening that, and then we still don't have the strength that we speak about. What could be the problem? But I do not think I know what the problem has been for ECOWAS countries, you know. But like I said, it could be anything ranging from language to, you know, this unity in unity. We are united as a group, but we are probably not united as we paint the picture on the surface, you know. So these are some of the reasons.
David, do we need to work on our psyche, our mentality? For example, if you said you were going to do something international in Ghana, the anticipation is that you would bring someone from Europe or the United States of America. But when I even tell people, for example, I'm flying out of the country, I'm going abroad, then they ask you, where are you going? Lome. They'll ask you, Lome, have you gone abroad? So do we have to work on our mentality to understand that going international means even working with your next door neighbor?
Yes, I think we do. Where you say that I'm traveling. Why are you going to Togo? Come on. Say yes, I'm going to Dubai. Yes, that means that you have really traveled. I think that we have got to do, you know, we have to work on our psyche. And then just to touch on the question you asked Venice, you know, it's a fact that the Francophone countries are not willing to let go their CFA.
So if you are talking ECO, why don't you accept CFA? So Ghana, the Gambia, Sierra Leone, and Liberia, and also Nigeria, who are the Anglophone bloc within the sub-region, would as well embrace the CFA.
So it means that if I was going to Togo to do business, I have to convert my CD into CFA.
Actually, stop spending your CD so that we all spend safer, because there is a system already for the safer. So if you have over 60% of the countries in West Africa spend this currency, why come with the idea of ECO? What is ECO as a common currency?
Well, I don't know, but yes, because if you look at West Africa, the Francophone countries form the majority, and they are not willing to let their currency go. And look, their currency is much more stronger, because it's stronger than even the Ghanaian cedi. So just like you rightly said, we can let go of the cedi and the naira and say, okay, can we use the CFA francs as the common currency? I think that we should be looking at it rather than trying to reinvent the wheel of saying that by 2020 we want to bring the ECO, where, you know, heads of state are always meeting and they have ministers of finance every day meeting, having deliberations, consultative sessions on how they can bring the ECO. We already have a mechanism in place. We already have a structure in place. Let's use it.
Okay, I'll come to you, Bernice, but at this juncture you may join the conversation. Our phone line will boldly pop up on your screens shortly. Bernice, Ecowas summits happen, and the one that happened 5 years ago maybe had Abdoulaye Wade and other people, but now it is a different ball game, Macky Sall and others. Is democracy helpful in, you know, gaining the long-term unity of purpose we seek? Because every new government will come with its own ideas of domestic policies and as well as regional and international policies.
You see, when before we got to this point, you stated or you mentioned something. If we're talking about West Africa, majority of us practice democracy, but our democracy is even an issue. You know, we have democratic, governments trying to, stay in power for as long as they could, when they are actually practicing democracy, and then they are supposed to give way to, to others to come in. Now we have democracy. I don't even think that democracy is working for us as individual states, as individual states. Somebody comes to power, do something for a few years, goes back, and then another person comes on board. At the end of the day, whichever government succeeds does not continue with the, progress or wherever they stopped. That is an issue that we are struggling with individually. And now we've sent our individual troubles into the group trouble. How do we come out of that? And then I would think that now, if we are looking at democracy working for us, or if we were looking at a strong system that would work for us, we could even do away with democracy. We can do away with democracy. Look at our own internal structures that can help us. And I don't even think that any of the countries individually are willing to let go of democracy and practice something else that would, push their country alone forward. Then we can even say we are learning from them. So democracy, I do not even see the progress of democracy for individuals, for the individual state. And then we've sent that into the regional blocks. And that is the challenge that we are facing. So, I really do.
So, Executive Director, do you think there is any alternative, a viable alternative for the sub-region in terms of governance system? A viable governance system that will suit our idiosyncrasies as a sub-region?
Well, taking democracy out of the equation, I'm not sure.
No, but look at East Africa. Rwanda's Paul Kagame will be in power for 21 years. His country is doing fairly well.
They're doing fairly well. They are okay with their progress.
So should we be swallowing hook, line, and sinker everything that comes from the West?
We need to let state institutions work, and then we need to let our constitutions work. A lot of the heads of states across Africa, whenever their tenure of office is coming to an end, and then they go to parliament, and then they go and change the constitution in their favor. We need the masses of the people. That's where we need civil society organizations to come up with movements that says that if your tenure of office is over, you have to be. What is happening in Togo now? And I say that I've said it that ECOWAS has not been able to speak when it has come to the issues of Togo. Why? Because the current chairman of ECOWAS is the president of Togo. He has to convey an emergency meeting whenever there's any form of crisis in any of the ECOWAS states. So how can the chairperson of ECOWAS
snitch on himself.
Snitch on himself, say that I am calling for an emergency? Obviously, it's not going to happen. This is not going to happen. We need to let the systems work. I think that's one of the things we have not been able to do. Let the systems work.
Okay.
You are supposed to be in power for 4 years, renewable for another 4 years. Okay. 8 years is enough. And they say that when the applause become the loudest,
you leave the stage when the applause is loudest.
But a lot of the our African leaders haven't come to realize this.
Okay, Bernice, you want to make an intervention?
Isn't that what we are even discussing now? That we have democracy after some years you go back. But if whoever leaves,
there's continuity.
There is no continuity in our democracy. If they come in, they do not continue from where whoever left off. Everybody comes with something new ways of doing things, and then the major crisis that we face is the corruption and the little instabilities. They keep, they exist for as long as they come to power without any continuity. So that's what we are saying. Is democracy really helping us?
So another twin brother to democracy that is a bane of our progress as a sub-region is corruption, and I think Bernice has alluded to that. ECOWAS has got a parliament, a common legislature.
Yes.
Why can't we have a common court to try corrupt officials from various countries?
But we need to ask ourselves that, if the ECOWAS courts makes the decision, does it bind on the nation Ghana? Because Ghana is also a sovereign country.
No, no.
So
In international relations, when you are a dualist country, then you subsume your own laws into the larger regional.
Into the larger group.
So we would take you to ECOWAS court if you went wrong, and that wouldn't run counter to our laws as a country.
Yes. No, but like you know, like I said previously, we need to allow the system to work. We need to empower and we need to strengthen, you know, our institutions. Let the institutions work. But if we allow the human factor to get into the way of the process, then the whole process, you know, becomes truncated. Because now, like what we say, a big man can say someone and say that, no, I want the thing done this way. We need to ask what is the position of the law? What are some of the ECOWAS protocols, ECOWAS conventions on, and then agreement when it comes to these matters? Let's stick to the ECOWAS conventions, protocols, and agreements. Let's allow the systems to work. When we allow the system to work, you see that everything will fall in its rightful place.
Yesterday, Ghana announced that a privileged few would have the opportunity to register for their Ghana card. I remember about half a decade ago on a TV program, we were talking about a syndicated ECOWAS ID card.
Yeah.
So if Ghana, as a member state, cannot register us, how can ECOWAS, the whole of ECOWAS, have a common ID for the 300 or so million citizens of this sub-region?
So I was saying before that we have, you know, we are individual groups with our own issues that have carried on to a major group. So Ghana has issues of corruption. Nigeria have their issues of corruption, and we have carried it there. Now we are trying to find solutions to such problems. And the solutions, even within the smaller groups, as individuals, we are not able to solve or resolve our own issues. How do we resolve it on a larger scale? So yes, if Ghana has issues coming up with a Ghana card, then obviously, if they are not able to work that out as individuals, how do they propose solutions on the larger, you know, in the larger community that we are in?
Okay.
These are the issues. Every issue that is discussed at ECOWAS, every solution that we propose, we want to propose at ECOWAS, we should be able to propose similar solutions within ourselves as individual states. That is how come we can be sure. For instance, if you're able to battle corruption in Ghana, you can be sure on the bigger community you'll be able to fight it. You know, we are individuals, so if you are sick of malaria and you go to stay, you know, you go to the hospital, you don't go and find cure, and you have a brother sitting by you, how do you suggest to your brother to a means of curing himself from malaria?
Yeah,
you really cannot do that.
That's
so individually, if we're able to do things for ourselves, we can propose those solutions on the bigger community.
Okay.
So whatever challenges we face, we are facing individually. Address them individually and be able to address them on the larger community.
Mr. Executive Director, we are at the dying embers of the program. We should begin to wrap up shortly. Can you take us through the itinerary for the 5-day summit? What are the things that will happen for each day? Okay, so basically
before I go to that, you'd agree with me that when it comes to issues of regional integration, it's in two folds. What we call the economic integration, which focuses or is geared towards achieving a common currency. Okay. Has got to do with issues of taxes on imports and exports. Okay. And then we have what we call the political integration, which has got to do with coming up with a common policy on issues of education, health, and then all that. I know for a fact that the Ghana card, there were some consultations between the officials in Ghana and then the ECOWAS and then the ECOWAS, where they are trying to see how they can syndicate. They can syndicate. But just like we did for the ECOWAS passports, we could do, you know, instead of a Ghana card, we could do, you know, an ECOWAS card, so that we don't have to do the Ghana card. Then when ECOWAS is also ready to issue the ECOWAS card, do we fade out the Ghana card and go in for the ECOWAS card? Then let me come back to your question. So for the day one, which is tomorrow, we are
Thursday.
expecting
On Thursday, 2 days from
yes,
now.
2 days from now. Sorry, we are expecting all delegates to arrive. No, tomorrow is 30th. Yes,
Tomorrow is 30th.
30th.
Wednesday.
Wednesday is arrival.
Wednesday
Arrival.
is actually arrival, and then there will be some, orientation, taking them through what we are going to be doing, and then on Thursday would be a diplomatic cocktail reception. It's an evening event. It's starting at 6:30 to around 10 p.m. And then that will be just so that people would display their different culture. So there's going to be a blend of music, dance, food, poetry, and anything that is culture related. And then the second day we would be hosting the West African Youth Economic Forum.
Great.
And that forum comes in 3 folds. We have a forum on entrepreneurship and investment. Then we have a forum on agribusiness, and then another forum will be on technology and innovation. It's interesting to know that all these 3 forums will run concurrently. Yes, and that is actually a whole day's event. It's going to start from 8 a.m. till 5 p.m. And then they would go back to their hotels, and then come back the next day at the Accra International Conference Center to do the Model Ecowas Summit, which basically introduces them to issues of diplomacy and international relations. So you hear things like moderated caucus, unmoderated caucus, what happens at a typical ECOWAS parliament, and then other. So basically this is, and then the 4th day, which would be the Sunday, would be the departure for them.
Bernice, I would recommend that when eventually you itemize your recommendations, not only Ghana's Foreign Affairs Ministry should be served, since it's an ECOWAS thing, and each ECOWAS country has got a diplomatic mission in Accra.
Yes.
Would you be minded to serve each of the embassies here?
Yes.
Point well taken. We will work on that.
Okay, that's fine. We are beginning to wrap up shortly, but I'll prick your minds on something. I'll start with you.
She didn't give us just a deep drop.
Yes. Ghana is quite a fortunate country in the sub-region. Literally every president we've had since '92 has headed ECOWAS.
Yes.
John Rawlings, President Kufuor, and
President
Atta
Mahama.
Mills, Mahama. Oh, we are waiting for Nana. Yes, soon I'm sure he will be able to.
Yes, I'm convinced.
Chalk that feat. If you were given the opportunity to chair ECOWAS, not your dummy ECOWAS. Forgive my choice of words. Not your mock ECOWAS. The real ECOWAS. In a year, what would your priorities be?
Just
For the
like
whole
I said,
year, your tenure, what would be your priorities?
we'll focus on the issues of working on the transportation system, so that we can integrate properly. Because without resolving the issues of the road transport, the rail transport, and then the air transport, regional integration, free movement of people, goods, services, and capital would still face some level of limitation. So this is what I'm going to focus on within my first year, in office as chairperson of ECOWAS.
But Nigerians come here. They deal in small and medium businesses.
You have no idea the challenge they go through.
At Abosokan, look at the challenges we give them. And you are talking about interconnectivity. You don't even welcome people from Nigeria here in Ghana. Wouldn't you rather work on the culture of accepting integration rather than connecting us through boulevards?
but Iban, it will surprise you to know that the Nigerian community in Ghana is huge.
Very.
And they contribute a chunk to Ghana's GDP. They do.
No, but Omo Niger, when someone comes from Nigeria, there is a notion.
But honestly, I have a number of Nigerian friends. It is not always true.
Okay. And what about you, Bernice? Would you have the magic wand to, in a year, transform the sub-region?
In a year, I think I would work on our unity and understanding. Like you said, I think that will form part of the culture as our culture. We need to understand that we're a group and we've committed to something, if you've committed to integration, if you've committed to providing our own security, if committed to being one people, then we should be able to work on that. We shouldn't have a Nigerian, like you are saying, a Nigerian come to Ghana and I'll start thinking that, hey, if I associate with this person, he's come to kill me the next day or steal from me. No, these are the things, the basic things that would align us to do things together. We should understand that, oh, this is my brother. You know, that's why we are even focused on the networking of youth from across all the sub-region. Okay. We should be able to understand that this is a brother, we form part of a larger community, so we should be able to achieve feats together.
Okay. And then, just to add up, if you allow me, I think that one of the things we would also need to work on is for myself and yourself to stop seeing ourselves as Ghanaians. But Africans.
So we should break down the marginal borders.
Exactly.
So that if a Nigerian is coming to pursue a higher education here, you don't charge him an international student fee, and then charge the Ghanaian a local fee.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to, the Nigerian needs not to see himself as a Nigerian. The Ghanaian needs not to see himself as a Ghanaian. Let's look at.
I'm told statistically, the ebb and flow of students from the sub-region is beginning to decrease.
No.
Because we attack their hostels, they are lured online, they pay for unaccredited, educational facilities or institutions and all that. So that steady stream we used to have, unfortunately, is diminishing.
If you don't see ourselves as one people, we will continue to harm each other. So these are the basic things that need to move us forward. They are the very, very basic things.
Let me give you a minute each to look into the cameras and speak to the young people of this country and the young people of this sub-region. What do you envisage as the outlook of the sub-region in the next decade or two?
Well, in the next decade or two, we see a number of young people doing amazing things, and then taking not just Ecowas, the Ecowas sub-region, not just Africa, but globally. We'll see a lot of young people impacting society, impacting lives, and making change within their immediate surrounding.
Hello.
And we think that.
Sorry, let's take this call. Hello, your name and where are you calling from?
Okay, I'm Emmanuel. I'm calling from Kwame. I was sending this to you.
Okay, welcome, Ima.
Yeah.
I hope you feel inspired. You feel inspired by your fellow young people.
Okay. And the last couple one of those, I always enjoy watching it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your call. Benis, you.
Okay. Those are presidents who always meet at the Ecowas meeting. They always go there to think about the countries. Mr. Albert said something that I would like us to look at. You see, the culture. Nigerians coming to Ghana to trade, and then also Togolese also coming to Ghana, whereby we, the Ghanaians, we don't have the kind of good relationship with them. How do these our leaders go there to make laws?
Okay.
Bring us together as a particular, one African state.
That's true. That's true.
I want to know, because for them, they are always having this kind of relationship. And what about we those underground? Okay. Whereby Ghanaians will go somewhere and they are facing problems. Okay. Just recently, Burkina Faso, the issue of tomatoes and the farm. You see, many people are soft there, but these leaders go there to think for it. So I just want you to hammer that one for me very well. The culture and how we accept this Ecowas that we are going to do one particular card for ourselves, whereby there will be free trade. Because
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Emmanuel. All too soon, we've come yet again. You are itching to say, let me give you 30 seconds because our time is up.
I would like to speak.
There is this idea of Africa rising, is a time of Africa. talk to your fellow young ladies on the continent.
Exactly, I would like to talk to the young ladies. It's interesting that young ladies would want to rather fight the society. So, and I think society is even helpful to young ladies. We have lots of policies that help young people. We have lots of measures that take care of young people. And if you're a young lady, I'm speaking to you today, you don't have to limit yourself in any way. There is nothing that is stopping you. Rise up, society will not fight you. You would succeed.
Thank you so much. We've had in the studio Executive Director David Osabote. Sir, thank you so much for making time. He was ably assisted by the Director and Commissioner, Conference and Protocol, Benis Alogbe. I hope I pronounced it right. This show was put together by a very strong production team and headed by Peter Langbon, who was quite instrumental in getting us these inspirational young people, and also Johnson Everlasting, George Nugent, Godfred, and a host of other people. Till we come your way tomorrow with another edition of Time with Irubad Ibrahim. Stay blessed and keep praying for West Africa and Africa. Good night.